The date is Monday, December 7. This is the news on PBCJ. I'm Simone Absalom. It will cost the National Works Agency an estimated $200 million to repair the Gordontown Road in St. Andrew. The Works Agency also plans to build a two-tier retaining wall along sections of the road. The road had been blocked due to landslide and breakaway during heavy rains in November. Prime Minister Andrew Holness toured the area along with Member of Parliament for St. Andrew East Rural, Mrs. Juliet Holness, and technical experts on Friday.
The repairing option will cost the government somewhere in the region of 200 million Jamaican dollars. It is the cheapest option that we have, and it is the quickest option that we have.
Mr. Holness says the option is not a sustainable solution because the entire stretch is under environmental threat.
The truth is that this road was never a designed road. It emerged as a track 150 years or more ago, and we have just built along the track, but we haven't designed a road. The soil here, it's very difficult to engineer a solution for and very expensive. It would appear that we would have to lean towards the immediate remedial solution, which we must say to the public it's not a sustainable solution, but it will reconnect the communities.
The Prime Minister says much of the habitats in the vicinity of Gordontown Road are at risk from extreme climate events.
With what we are seeing with unpredictable and more intense weather events, these habitats, these homes and economic activity will be increasingly under threat. Many of the homes are perched on the hillside, and they are also within the river course. And as we have more intense weather events, the river courses will change and will affect the homes, but they will also affect the roads. So the homes, the habitats are facing threats from the river below them and from the roads above them.
Currently, no course exists within Jamaica and the wider Caribbean in mining and quarry. That will change come January 2021 as a 4-year Bachelor of Science degree in Mines and Quarry Management is being offered by the University of Technology, UTECH. The course is being spearheaded by Associate Professor and Head of the School of Building and Land Management at UTECH, Lawrence Newville. He reportedly says less than 50% of those working in the mining sector have the requisite qualifications. More from Marlon Samuels.
Jamaica's mining and quarrying sector is dominated in the main by bauxite and alumina. There is also marble, marl, limestone and silica sand. The sector accounts for a significant percent of Jamaica's export values and employs thousands of people. The sector also supports the construction industry. The sector will get a major boost with the introduction of a degree program on mining and quarrying. The 4-year degree, which starts in January 2021, is being offered at the University of Technology, UTECH. It is being described as a landmark program, as it's the first to be offered in Jamaica and the Caribbean. The conceptualizer of the degree program, Lawrence Newville, head of the School of Building and Land Management at UTECH. In an interview with the JIS, he is quoted as saying, "More than 85% of persons who responded to a survey believe the sector requires formal education and training in mining, quarrying and restoration for granting of license to operate within the sector." End quote. The 4-year program will prepare students for a wide variety of areas in the mining industry. Students will reportedly be trained to perform various functions including planning, designing, operating and managing mines. For the news on PBCJ, I'm Marlon Samuels.
The Senate passed the Dogs Liability for Attacks Act 2020 on Friday with 24 amendments. The bill will act as a deterrent for irresponsible dog owners. They are being urged to control their animals so as to prevent harm or death of persons and other animals in a public space.
Proof of ownership was a point of discussion as members of the Senate debated the Dogs Liability for Attacks Act 2020 on Friday.
I think Senator Scott Motley had pointed out to the need for a licensing regime to be put in place once you have dogs of a certain breed. And I will go further to say that those dogs should be linked to their owners. So if it is that you have a pit bull and he's placed and he has a collar, just as how you can have personalized license plates on your motor vehicle, the dog needs to bear the name of the owner.
Opposition Senator Floyd Morris was participating in the debate on the bill during the sitting of the Senate on Friday, December 4. Under the legislation, a dog owner is defined as the person who occupies the premises where a dog is kept, has custody and care of the dog when the injury occurred, or who caused the dog to be in a public place where the injury occurred. The bill provides for criminal and civil liability for an owner of a dog that attacks, injures, and/or causes the death of a person.
What it has done is, which is of great significance, is the criminal liability which it attaches to dog ownership. And even there, I have to ask myself if that is really what we want to do. If what we really want to do is criminalize the failure of the owner, or what we want to do is to ensure that the persons who suffer injury are adequately and significantly compensated. In some jurisdictions, how they have sought to do it is to say that if you have a particular type of dog, then you have to have insurance for the dog. Because they know that where you are disfigured, as young Michael Allen has been, or where you suffer serious mental impairment, as is considered by the legislation itself, what you need is money. Money to treat your condition, money to help you overcome what you have experienced.
Civil liability has not been sufficiently, has not sounded a sufficient call on our society to take responsibility, and accordingly, we must attach criminal liability. And it must be phased in a way that ensures that there is a distinction between attacks which cause minor injury and those which cause dismemberment and those which cause death. And so they are provided for under the Act. The criminal liability is not just a simple change. It is one which, as I said last week, removes the burden from the victim to now seek legal redress, because they can do so through the clerk of the courts. Once a report has been made to the police, it can be prosecuted like any other crime, where the state takes responsibility for ensuring that the appropriate persons are held accountable.
The bill proposes fines ranging from $500,000 to $3 million, or imprisonment from 6 months to 15 years as criminal penalties. The bill was approved with 24 amendments. Melvin Pennant, PBCJ News.
Justice Patrick Brooks, one of Jamaica's leading judges, was sworn in as the new president of the Court of Appeal on Monday, December 7, in a ceremony at King's House.
Justice Brooks, you are being sworn in at a very challenging time in Jamaica's history, and when its leadership in all branches of government and all the sectors of society are stretched to provide guidance, support, direction to our people. We are besieged, as we are all aware, by the global COVID-19 pandemic, the nagging specter and reality of crime and violence, the possible downturn in the economy, among other social ills and maladies, the consequences of which you no doubt often face in the courts. You must contend with these issues, as we do not have the luxury of burying our heads in the sand like the proverbial ostrich. that thinks its problems will disappear over time. We know that but for our Constitution, which provides for the nexus, despite individual mandates and authorities of the various branches of government, it is critical and very important that the nation perceives that we are united in our efforts to achieve our developmental goals. This may require more consultations at the leadership level of all three branches of government. Your elevation as President of the Court of Appeal is yet another step along your illustrious career path and should redound to the benefit of our nation. I am sure that your qualities, character, and experience, and of course your scholarship, will place you in good stead to execute your tasks.
I, Patrick Anthony Brooks, do swear that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to Jamaica, that I will uphold and defend the Constitution of and the laws of Jamaica, and that I will conscientiously and impartially discharge my responsibilities to the people of Jamaica.
He will preside over a court which has in recent years benefited from new and improved facilities and now has almost its full complement of justices. Justice Brooks is succeeding the Honorable Mr. Justice Morrison O.J., CD, who served on the Court of Appeal for over a decade and as president for some 5 years. Justice Morrison's outstanding contribution to the judiciary, not only in Jamaica but regionally, where he has served on various appellate courts, is well known. His tenure was one of distinction, and his contribution to Caribbean jurisprudence and legal education is widely celebrated. We thank him for his stellar service, and I know the nation will continue to benefit from his service, knowledge, and experience in other ways. We expect continued high standards from the President and offer him our highest congratulations as he embarks on leadership of the Court of Appeal. Appellate courts promote public trust and confidence in the justice system. The Court of Appeal enhances judicial accountability and effectively establishes standards and judicial discipline, propriety. They are guardrails, so to speak, that ensure that the justice system produces the right results. I am confident that Justice Brooks will cement the progress that has been made in recent years and continue to strengthen the guardrails by utilizing the best judicial minds to exercise the highest intellectual rigor with the highest integrity and professionalism to deliver timely and fair outcomes for our people.
Justice Brooks, we had no hesitation in recognizing the appropriateness of your appointment to this post. You're a person who's known to be one of great integrity. Your judicial acumen as a jurist is acknowledged by all, and we look forward to your tenure as President of the Court of Appeal. I want to join in the remarks of the Prime Minister in relation to the importance of the judiciary in ensuring that the country's governance arrangements are maintained with respect for the constitutional order set out in our Constitution and laws. We all who represent persons in Parliament or members of the Senate, or indeed those in the judicial branch, swear an oath to that effect. There is, of course, some unfinished work to be done as we approach our 75th anniversary of independence. There remains some constitutional reforms that we would like to see pursued. I would like to work collaboratively with the Prime Minister to see if we can move that process forward, both in terms of the arrangements for our final court and, of course, the overall arrangements in terms of our head of state and so on.
The Court of Appeal is the highest appellate court in Jamaica. It deals only with appeals from other courts or tribunals. Appellate courts review procedures and the decisions in the trial court. Justice Brooks succeeds Dennis Morrison, who retired after making notable contributions to the improvement of Jamaica's justice system.
I am confident that President Brooks will hit the ground running, coming up to full speed in record time. Virtually from the moment of his appointment, Justice Brooks became one of the most productive members of the court. From the beginning of his outstanding career as a judge of appeal, he was much sought after by his colleagues as a reference point on difficult or unusual issues, as a veritable storehouse of precedents from a variety of sources, and perhaps most important of all, as someone who would willingly set aside whatever he was doing, no matter how important, to listen to the problem and to help others in their search for solutions. Put simply, Mr. Justice Brooks has been an ideal judge of appeal. I can therefore say with confidence that he assumes the leadership of the Court of Appeal to the full acclaim and with the complete support of his colleagues.
Digitization is necessary for our internal processes. And that, Prime Minister, Leader of the Opposition, requires outlay of capital. I know it is a tall order given the current status of the economy, but with that as our goal and with the will to achieve it, it will be achieved. So, as the Chief Justice has said, if we get the necessary infrastructure and what is required to move us forward, the court, the personnel there, judges, support staff, legal professionals, secretarial, clerical, and ancillary, have the will, the energy, and the ability to take the required steps. We will, with the assistance of the Honorable Chief Justice, the Court Administration Division, meet the challenges of the future, bearing in mind our overall goal to be the best in the Caribbean and among the best in the world.
Time now for the latest COVID-19 update from the Health and Wellness Ministry.
In the clinical management summary for Sunday, December 6, 64 new COVID-19 cases were reported. That leaves us with an overall case count of 11,184. However, it must be noted that only 3,621 of these cases are active. Most of the new cases, 22 in all, came from the Kingston and St. Andrew region, while St. Catherine and Westmoreland each reported 10 cases. No deaths were reported over the period. That total remains at 265. 148 persons have recovered, pushing that total to 7,146. At this time, 80 persons are hospitalized, 22 are showing moderate symptoms, and 9 are critical. For the news on PBCJ, I'm Gabrielle Thompson.
The Women's Center program for adolescent mothers continues to be successful despite the challenges being faced due to the COVID-19 pandemic. 17 outreach sites across the island had been temporarily closed during the onset of the pandemic, with minimal services provided. The Women's Center of Jamaica Foundation, under which the program is executed, says the aim is to remain in constant contact with the teens. Director of Field Operation at the Women's Center of Jamaica Foundation, Beverly Martin-Berry, says a recent survey shows that a lot of the girls registered to the foundation are experiencing economic constraints.
As 25% of the parents who are breadwinners lost their jobs because of COVID-19. And that 25%, majority of that percentage came out of the western end of the island, especially for those parents who were employed in the hotel industry.
Mrs. Martin Berry says most of their girls still live with their parents, and most of the adults had lost their jobs due to the shutdown of the country at the start of the COVID-19 pandemic.
Now, with this in mind, we recognize that we would have to still try our best to provide all the necessary support to subsidize what was needed within the household. So, in that period, we would have responded to this need with our care packages through our dignity kits that were issued to the girls across the 17 sites that were active.
She explained that classes are being conducted online since schools have remained closed as ordered by the government. Some students proved to be at a disadvantage. However, her team is working to resolve the issues.
The remedial students, struggling readers and writers, they were also at a disadvantage as they were not able to keep up the pace as to what was happening virtually. As it relates to the CSEC cohort at that time, all were connected and they were supported by UNICEF. Those who did not have smart devices were provided with a smartphone through partnership with UNICEF so that they could continue academic instruction. Part-time teachers were able to continue to deliver academic instruction virtually using the Zoom platform as well as through WhatsApp connection with the adolescent mothers. Counselors also create working groups via WhatsApp to support the academic instruction, as well as to ensure that the CSEC cohort were able to complete their SBAs.
The Women's Center Program for Adolescent Mothers was established in 1978 in response to the high level of teenage pregnancy experienced by the country. Global oil prices fell sharply on Monday. Here now are those and other market details in this quick business report with Gabriel Thompson.
In Friday's trading session, the JSE Combined Index advanced by 795 points to close at under 400,000 units. Overall market activity resulted from trading in 79 stocks, of which 33 advanced, 37 declined, and 9 traded firm. The junior market index declined by 9 points to close at under 3,000 units. Stocks advanced for AMG Packaging and Paper Company, Barita Investments Limited, and Berger Paints Jamaica. Stocks declined for Access Financial Services, CAC 2000 9.5% preference shares, and Caribbean Assurance Brokers Limited. Trading firm were 1834 Investments Limited, Cargo Handlers Limited, and Equity Line Mortgage Preference shares. Barita Investments Limited was the volume leader with 12.1 million units, followed by Trans-Jamaican Highway Limited with 8.7 million units, and Sterling Investments Limited with just over 1.4 million units. Now for the foreign exchange. The US dollar on Friday, December 4 ended trading at $144.99. The Canadian dollar sold for an average $112.57. The pound sterling traded for $196.09, and the euro ended trading at $176.06. Oil prices slipped on Monday as the positive impact from COVID-19 vaccines and an OPEC Plus deal on oil production cuts was undermined by surging coronavirus cases and heightened tensions between the United States and China. Brent crude futures fell 36 cents to $48.89 a barrel. West Texas Intermediate crude futures fell 39 cents to settle at $45.87 a barrel. And that does it for this edition of the Business Report on PBCJ. I'm Gabrielle Thompson.
Regionally, in Trinidad and Tobago, the Public Procurement and Disposal of Public Property Amendment Bill 2020 was passed in the lower house on Friday night with a simple majority of 21 for and 18 against. Over the past week, the opposition and civil society groups had called on government not to make amendments to the procurement legislation. They were particularly concerned with the removal of the government-to-government oversight given to the Office of the Procurement Regulator. Karen Kozier-Phillip has more.
On Friday, all members on the government bench stoutly defended the amendments to the public procurement legislation. Finance Minister Colm Imbert, in his wind-up, reiterated that it was an internationally known best practice that in government-to-government arrangements, a procurement regulator is not involved.
The fact of the matter is, all over the world, government-to-government arrangements are exempt from normal procurement arrangements. It's in legislation and it's in practice. And the reason why I've read this, because I heard that weak amateur attempt to tell us that this legislation requires a special majority because it breaches Section 13 of the Constitution.
The Finance Minister also rejected the proposals by the opposition that medical and legal services must go out to tender.
That if a member of parliament requires surgery to save his life or her life, we need to get 3 quotes for that and subject it to oversight by the regulator, which, as the AG has said, could take 123 days. I reject that as absurd.
During his contribution, Oropouche East Member of Parliament, Dr. Rudal Munilal, expressed surprise that government did not understand that politicians being involved in procurement was not a good idea.
If in years to come, a prime minister, hypothetically, named Smith, and a minister of national security named James, hypothetically, and Smith and James go to England, and they say we meet in prime minister to discuss buying a boat, and that means there's no corruption because the prime minister and minister do it themselves. This is not the Pope and the Dharmachar. This is not the Imam and the Pundit. These are 2 politicians. We are not casting aspersions on their integrity, but we are saying as politicians, you ought not to get involved in procurement.
The major amendments to the bill are contained in Clause 5, which amends Section 7 of the Act by creating a new subsection 5, which provides that the Act shall not apply to public bodies or state-controlled enterprises that provide legal services, financial services, accounting and auditing, medical services, or such other services as the minister may by order determine. The amendments will now be debated in the Senate. Karen Kozier-Phillip, TTT News.
The Veterinary Livestock Services and Division in St. Lucia is taking steps to safeguard the public from the highly pathogenic avian influenza outbreak in Europe. The division has placed temporary restrictions on the importation of fresh, chilled and frozen poultry meat from the United Kingdom in particular. More in this report.
Chicken wing lovers may have to switch to another poultry product to satisfy their cravings. The Veterinary and Livestock Services Division has banned the importation of chicken from the UK due to a bird flu outbreak with immediate effect. Acting Veterinary Officer Dr. Shameen Melvin Edwin says St. Lucia mainly sources chicken wings from the UK.
What we've instituted is a temporary restrictions on the importation of poultry and poultry products from the UK, as well as, of course, live birds hatching eggs from the UK. However, the major product that we import from the UK is actually chicken wings. Chicken wings is our biggest market for, the UK is the area where we import most of our chicken wings from. So this will more than likely have some effect on our, on the local market and the sale of chicken wings here.
The Livestock Services Division has been in talks with importers to help them brace for shortage in chicken wings.
We've had consultation with the importers. They are aware and they understand. They understand the reasoning behind these restrictions. They are quite understanding. We've been working with them to help them more or less prepare for it, as well as begin to put things in place to basically prepare for the impact of the ban. but it will have it will have a big effect on their businesses again because of the UK being that major supplier of chicken wings to St. Lucia.
The local poultry industry has lost one of their major markets to the pandemic.
The impact on from the pandemic, the COVID pandemic, has basically been for us a loss of our market. Because you can imagine the big impact on the tourism sector. And the tourism sector has been one of our major markets. And so our poultry processors have lost one of their major markets. And of course that has redounded in decreasing sales for processors. So that has been a major impact, a major blow for our poultry sector in terms of the loss of sales, loss of market access because of the pandemic.
Importation of live birds and hatching eggs is also banned. However, the health official believes that there will be enough eggs on the market to meet demand this holiday season. Gina Filippi, HTS News Force.
In sports, national under-23 footballer Kyle Butler has filed a report with the police in St. Andrew, prompting a criminal investigation into his alleged wounding at the hands of his father, Craig Butler. Kyle Butler has also retained leading attorney Queen's Counsel Tom Tavares Vincent to act on his behalf. Mr. Tavares Vincent says he, along with Donahue Martin Jr. and Sean Christopher Castle, have been instructed to act on Kyle's behalf to exhaust all legal recourse. Kyle's mother has taken to social media saying that she supports her son. In the meantime, Craig Butler, who is the Phoenix All-Star Academy founder, has denied the allegations. He has retained attorney at law Christopher Townsend. And that's the news. Thanks so much for making it PBCJ. Remember, we are the People's Station.